A small village, after suffering severe damage, decided to spend all its savings to hire Flaming Dragon Fang, a powerful warrior group, to defeat Fenrir, an S-rank monster that had just appeared, sending people flying with its sheer power. Despite the difficulties, Bandana the fastest adventurer, Ma Felix the mage, and Golnova the flame warrior successfully defeated the terrifying monster. But what's shocking is that their group has one more member, Kurt. No, not that one, this one, the weakest of them all. His only job, handling minor tasks while the others save the world. And of course, he's our protagonist. Unfortunately, the next day, after humiliating him a little, his own party tells him that he's fired. Kurt doesn't understand why, but Golnova bluntly tells him the obvious. Someone so useless that he can't even defeat slimes has no place in this group. The others agree, finding him annoying. No matter how much Kurt begs to stay, they kick him out without mercy. Days later, our white-haired protagonist has no choice but to visit an adventurer agency in search of work. The receptionist begins an interview and an aptitude test. After asking for his name and background, she's surprised to hear that he used to work for Flaming Dragon Fang, especially since the group had just been promoted to SS rank. Even though Kurt feels ashamed about being fired, she assures him that his experience could help him find new opportunities. Now, it's time for the aptitude test. A crucial moment since these aptitudes are divine talents granted by the gods. Who knows, she might uncover hidden talents even Kurt himself never knew he had. Aptitudes range from G rank, lowest, to SS rank, highest. For example, a low-rank swordsman can't cut through hard materials, while a high-rank one can do it effortlessly. Kurt sees this as a new chance, unless... Oh no, everything is G rank, literally everything. Even the receptionist is stunned. He has zero talent in any combat category. She worries that he'll struggle to find a job, but encourages him not to lose hope. There are still tests for blacksmithing and alchemy, but since the examiner isn't available, he'll have to wait at least a week. Kurt explains that he has no money, so to help him out, the receptionist asks him to lift a sandbag. As soon as he does, he suddenly feels it draining his magic, getting heavier and heavier. To his surprise, she congratulates him. His strength is good enough for construction work. She quickly arranges a job offer for him at a border town wall repair project. When Kurt arrives, the site manager isn't convinced about hiring him, but since they desperately need workers, he lets him in. The job? Mix cement, repair the wall, and get paid based on performance. Slacking off is not an option. Kurt wonders if he should reinforce the cement with magic, but since the manager didn't mention it, he assumes it's such a basic step that it goes without saying. Determined not to disappoint, he puts in his best effort. Later, when the supervisor returns, he's completely shocked. Somehow, in just 3 hours, Kurt has used minimal materials and still finished 1/3 of the massive west wall. The blonde worker looks at him in disbelief and asks, "How the hell did you even reach the higher sections when there's no ladder?" Kurt explains that he prepared the cement, threw it up so it would stick, and then spread it out using a wooden pole. The supervisor is at a loss for words and asks how many days Kurt wants to work. Kurt responds that a week would be amazing. The supervisor thinks that's perfect and tells him he can take the rest of the day off. He also apologizes for the low pay, as it's all he can afford right now, but promises to send him a much larger payment later. Kurt is thrilled and plans to work even harder tomorrow. The next day, everyone is stunned by the progress. It doesn't make sense. The repairs are happening way too fast. The blonde worker tells Kurt that starting tomorrow, he doesn't need to come back. Kurt doesn't understand. Hasn't he been doing a good job? The supervisor explains that the wall repair project was meant to reduce unemployment in the area, but if things continue like this, Kurt will put everyone else out of work. Kurt still doesn't fully grasp the situation, but his boss tells him, "You work too well and too fast. What's an SS or even SSS rank guy doing here, fixing simple walls?" This is his final paycheck, and the supervisor suggests he go work in the capital instead. Kurt can't believe it. Back at the adventurer agency, Kurt notices a woman causing a scene. She's looking for miners to work in a mountain that hasn't shown any potential. Worse, she'll only pay if they find something, no advance payment, no guarantees. The receptionist advises her to find investors, but the woman explains that if she doesn't pay her taxes within a week, the entire mountain will be confiscated. She's desperate. Kurt immediately offers to work, but she refuses. She needs someone muscular. However, with no other options left, she reluctantly accepts. By the way, the receptionist's name is Kerschel, and she thinks Kurt is a genuinely good person who deserves better job opportunities. But her thoughts are interrupted because suddenly Kat receives a payment for his wall repairs. The amount, 200 gold coins. Kerschel is shocked and ends up tripping over 2 sandbags. Her colleague explains that those aren't normal sandbags. They're specially made to measure a person's magic level. The more magic someone has, the heavier the bags become. Ordinary people feel nothing, but only high-level mages can activate their true weight. In fact, they rarely even use this method because it only reacts at the level of royal-class spellcasters. Ketchup lifts the bag and realizes it's not that heavy for her. That means Kurt is hiding something far more interesting than anyone expected. At the mountain camp, Kurt and his new employer arrive at the mountain, but there's a problem. There's only one tent. The woman, Ulyssia, tells him it's more than enough for the 2 of them. Kurt awkwardly explains that he can't possibly sleep in the same place as such a beautiful woman. His words fluster Ulyssia, who quickly changes the subject and hands him something she cooked. Kurt is delighted. It's been a long time since someone prepared a meal for him. That night, he can't sleep, so he turns over to check if Ulyssia is still awake. And, well, what he sees leaves him so embarrassed that he rushes outside. After all, he's still a man. Ulyssia was actually testing him, and she's relieved to see that he's a good guy and even kind of sweet. The next morning, Ulyssia wakes up and realizes that Kurt slept outside all night. Not only that, but some of his clothes got ruined in the process, which she finds hilarious. After exchanging morning greetings, she tells him to get ready, they're about to start digging. Kurt asks if she has a strategy on where to start, but they start digging randomly, as if this were Minecraft. But no, the protagonist tells her that they can't just dig blindly. In fact, he's looking for something specific, so he asks her to follow him for a moment. After searching for a while, Kurt finds a rock with beautiful crystals inside, which could sell for up to 3 gold coins. Ulyssia can't believe that in just a short time, he's already found part of what she needs. After a few hours, the protagonist has extracted all the crystals from the rocks, and Ulyssia is eager to sell them. However, he asks her to wait, and she agrees since he did all the work. But that's not the reason. He explains that, because the crystals are small, they won't sell for much. Instead, he will turn them into magic crystals. Ulyssia mentions that there are fewer than 10 mages in the entire kingdom capable of doing that. But then, out of nowhere, the protagonist creates a magic crystal in just a few seconds. She is in total disbelief since even the smallest magic crystal normally takes at least an hour to make. The protagonist doubts this information, claiming he doesn't have much magic, but Ulyssia is starting to realize that they are not on the same page at all. By evening, they agree to meet the next day. She will sell the crystals, while the protagonist stays behind to do something else. Later, a guard questions Ulyssia about where the crystals were made and whether she has a certificate. She solves the issue by showing a symbol of adventurers affiliated with the crown. With her permit approved, she teleports to the capital. She soon arrives at the shop of Mimiko, an old acquaintance, to sell the crystals. Although Mimiko notices that the magic crystal has a faint glow, she decides to inspect it further. Ulyssia was expecting the crystals to be worth very little, but to her shock, Mimiko offers to buy them for 10 gold coins each. Ulyssia demands an explanation, as she expected them to be worth at most 4 silver coins. Mimiko explains that these crystals contain 10 times more magic than usual, and only glow faintly to prevent the magic from leaking out. Ulyssia reveals that she has 49 more crystals, but Mimiko has no problem with that. She immediately pulls out a bag with 500 gold coins. However, she makes two important requests. Ulysia must not sell these crystals to any other shop, as they wouldn't appraise them correctly. Mimiko also doesn't want such powerful crystals to circulate freely. She wants to know who created them. Ulysia refuses to reveal that information without the creator's permission. Mimiko then states that this is an order from a high-ranking court mage, equivalent to an honorary countess. Ulysia doesn't care about that and has no intention of obeying. Seeing that, Mimiko changes her approach. She asks as a friend. She wants Ulysia to protect the person behind these crystals and ensure that no other kingdom takes him away. She also informs her that both she and her colleagues would be willing to appoint him as the director of the Royal Institute of Magic. And that's not all. His Majesty himself would likely grant him the title of honorary count. Ulysia is stunned but agrees. Even later, she still can't believe what's happening with Kurt. She then returns to the job agency where the two receptionists are extremely curious about who Kurt really is. Since Ulysia has her symbol, Kiersel hands over all of Kurt's information to her. Now she knows that he was in an SS rank group and worked on constructing the city walls. However, she strictly instructs Kiersel to transfer all the gold coins to the protagonist and to never reveal any information about him, no matter who asks. Finally, she returns to the mountain camp, only to be shocked when she sees that the protagonist has built an entire house while she was away. She asks him if he thinks it's normal to build a house in just one night, and he casually replies that, at least in his village, it's completely standard. The poor girl doesn't know what to think anymore. And with that, this first episode comes to an end.